first of all, give credit, art by faith, not by faith by art. Art by faith. Last week when the kids were doing the rocking chair conversation, one of the kids talked about Jesus with a guitar in the rocking chair. And so somebody went ahead and pinned that out for us. So I'm going to ask you to start with a moment of trusting your pastor here. If you would close your eyes, not long enough to go to sleep, but would you please close your eyes? And in your mind's eye, would you please paint a picture of Jesus? When you have a picture painted of Jesus, would you please open your eyes? Okay, I see most of your eyes. When you painted your picture of Jesus, how many of you painted a picture of baby Jesus? Do we have any baby Jesuses painted? Not this time of the year. Oh, we had a baby Jesus over here. Who painted a picture of Jesus on the cross? Okay, you had a couple pictures of Jesus. Who had Jesus working miracles? Okay, Jesus working miracles. Anybody have Jesus laughing? Yeah, some Jesus laughing. How about Jesus crying? How about Jesus among the people? Okay. I haven't hit a whole bunch of you. Anybody want to yell out what you had a picture of Jesus? At the table.
In the barn.
In the barn. Knocking. Pardon me? Knocking.
Portrait that wasn't European white North American.
Okay, so maybe an ethnic Jesus.
Trying to picture a Jewish Jesus.
A Jewish Jesus. I am curious, did anybody picture Jesus as a mother hen? It's not our usual picture of Jesus, is it? So the Bible does have some feminine images of the divine, but most of the feminine images of the divine are something more meaty than a hen. We have from Hosea an enraged she-bear. From Deuteronomy, a soaring mother eagle. We also have a laboring woman image, a mother of a toddler image, and a skilled midwife image. Quite frankly, very different than the image of a mother hen. Now, as we think about this mother hen image, the first thing we simply have to acknowledge is the radical vulnerability of the mother hen. That vulnerability of openness and wings spread wide. The vulnerability of the smallness and the fragileness of a hen. Today, as Jesus sets up this imagery of the mother hen, there's also the lamentation of that mother hen. Weeping, grieving over rebellious little chicks, disobedient little chicks, unfulfilled relationships, missed opportunities, broken promises, and crushed hopes. All part of the image that Jesus hands to us this day. And the third part of it, the continuing call to return. She will not stop calling. Come back. Surrender. So this image today of this mother hen, vulnerability, lamentation, Jesus continually calling us to come home, to surrender. Now, interestingly enough, Jesus gives himself as the mother hen image. And interesting, what does Herod get called? The fox. Now, think about what happens when you put hens and foxes together and who wins that battle every time. The Pharisees have come to Jesus today. Now, the Pharisees are almost always painted in just dark tones. There's nothing good, nothing redeeming. So what is their motivation today? Are they legitimately concerned about Jesus? We don't know. But they come and they say, Jesus, you need to rethink this. You are in trouble. And Jesus says, go and tell that fox. Jesus knows Herod is trouble. It is Herod who killed John the Baptizer. Herod was ruthless and cunning. He'd murdered his favorite wife, one of 10, 2 of his sons. There was nothing that would get between Herod and what Herod had in mind. As juvenile as it may be, I couldn't help this week but thinking about that image of the fox and the gingerbread man. A hen is not so different than a gingerbread man, I think, in terms of at least vulnerability. But the cunningness of the fox to invite the gingerbread man closer and closer and closer to danger until he was gone. And quite frankly, Herod the fox is that same sort of danger. Jesus moving that direction in radical vulnerability. He stands his ground. He knows exactly what he's walking towards and into. Jesus, not unlike any of us, has lots of voices going on. We too in this world hear lots of voices and lots of invitations, and certainly many of them inviting us to an easier way or a simpler way or a different pathway than what we're called. Jesus, being completely human, also had those voices and those temptations. It's dangerous to go to Jerusalem. And Jesus, knowing all of that, knowing full well, still puts his face towards Jerusalem, knowing what is to come, what will unfold there. He says it today. The prophets do not die outside of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, why do you do this? Why do you do this? Now, an interesting thing, Jesus' face is set towards Jerusalem. It gets set forth clear back in Luke, and for 10 chapters, Jesus is on his way towards Jerusalem. He knows he's got a call. He knows he's got a direction. He knows he's got something he needs to do. But pay attention. He pays attention all along the pathway. To the people who come to him and need him, to need to be healed, touched, noticed, blessed. So with a trajectory, with a mission, and yet all the while paying attention to those around him. What a reminder for us to hug our kids or our grandkids, to pay attention to our neighbor, whoever that neighbor may be. Despite the legitimate warnings, knowing that trouble is just ahead, Jesus puts his face towards Jerusalem. And by continuing on that pathway, Jesus knowingly undercuts Herod's pretentious claim to supremacy. I want you to hear that. By continuing on his mission towards Jerusalem, Jesus knowingly undercuts Herod's pretentious claim to supremacy. Not Herod, nor the world, nor evil, nor temptation, nor suffering, nor death reign supreme. Through Jesus' death and resurrection, it is now compassion and forgiveness and mercy and love and grace that have the last word. And those beautiful, vulnerable gifts, those are the good news that gather you under the warm and tender wing of your Lord and your Savior today. So here we are in the midst of Lent, in the midst of Lent and our listening season. And you have a couple questions here if you would like to listen that way today. There's still the gift box if you want to make a gift to Growing Hope. You can light a candle. You're welcome for prayer at the rail or at the feet of Jesus in the chair. I encourage you to make space of these few minutes in a way that makes sense to you. Good and gracious God, amidst the long shadows of Lent, give us courage to listen without fleeing to the voice of the one who calls us beloved. Amen.